Whether it's from local business leaders or candidates for president, we keep hearing about the need for more people in the job market with skills in math and science. Thanks to help from Mass Insight Education, the Boston Public Schools would try to make that a reality for even more students. To tell us about the initiative and its expansion are two guests: the head of community relations for the Mass Math and Science Initiative for Mass Insight, Jeff Mahoney, and the coordinator for the initiative at East Boston High School, the assistant headmaster, Charles Cauley. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to start with Jeff. Take us from where there is this demand in the job market to getting a supply from the kids in the Boston schools.
Well, and I'm glad you actually jumped right into that, because essentially that's where the initiative started from. It's a STEM initiative, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that was created. It's a replication program. It began in Houston some years ago, and the National Math and Science Initiative was born off of that. And 5 years ago, Massachusetts was one of 5 states that was awarded a grant from ExxonMobil for $130 million to operate in Massachusetts. So we do see this as an economic development program. Now, that being said, it starts at the school level to do that. Our corporate partners, Vertex in Boston, and also State Street, a variety of other corporate partners, say we don't have the workforce of the future. And we know the talent is there in the Boston schools. We know it's there. And we just we need to harvest that at the earliest levels. And that's where this is starting. We originally went into the O'Brien School in 2008, and since then have grown into 10 schools now, and we hope to keep expanding in that. But the program itself is, we administer it, but, and Charles can speak to it, it's really teacher, school, and student driven.
Charles, you're at East Boston High School, and historically what we heard about so many of the district schools was that there were low expectations for students, and often the math teachers in the schools didn't have a deep background in math. So what happened at East Boston? Why don't you get going with this?
When I took over the position about 4 or 5 years ago, we had low enrollment in AP courses. We had
advanced placement courses.
Yes,
right.
We had probably only about 6 or 7 courses at that time. And it was low enrollment. It was barely any students making a qualifying score. And that's something that we've pushed to grow. We've grown by training more teachers, and we got started slow. Then MIMSI came on board, 3 years ago. This is our 3rd year with MIMSI, and allowed us to have resources to be able to train teachers, gave incentives for students and teachers for qualifying scores. We've increased the number of courses that we have in AP to 13 now. Not all of those are MIMSI courses, obviously, but we've increased the number of MIMSI offerings. We've increased the number of non-MIMSI courses. We've increased the number of teachers teaching like courses. For instance, we have 2 teachers that teach calculus, 2 teachers that teach English literature, 2 teachers that teach English language, and 2 that teach biology now, which allows us to increase the stable of teachers that we have doing this.
Jeff, before you know how well these students are doing in the job market, you at least want to see what happens to them even a little bit after high school. What do we know so far?
Well, so far, as I said, this is the 5th year, so we're just beginning. In fact, I was this morning, Charles and I were at an announcement of an initiative to partner with UMass Boston and some of the other partners in the Boston Public Schools to track these students. We're at the stage now where we're finally seeing them matriculate to college, and part of the initial thing we're seeing is that college success is happening. The Math and Science Initiative students from the Boston schools are matriculating to college at a higher rate, and they're also, more importantly, staying in college at a higher rate than kids across other students across Massachusetts who haven't participated in the program. So that's a vital element to the program.
Now, some of these students are just good students and they would have done well anyhow, so how do we know the program is making a difference?
Well, just the enrollment numbers themselves. The enrollment numbers have doubled in the 10 participating schools. Well, actually, I should say 7, because 3 of the schools were just entering this year, so the data is only on 7 schools that we've been in. And the participation rate in AP, Math, Science, and English is a 103% increase over that 5-year span. So the numbers speak for themselves.
Charles, how do you really expand the reach of a program like this? Because you want to engage more kids and allow them to do more than they might have done otherwise. How do you make that happen?
Part of it is eliminating some of the barriers of access to the courses. I mean, that's step one, opening up access. And opening up access means taking away requirements, you know, GPA requirements, behavior requirements, attendance requirements. Of if you did not meet these 3 requirements, you cannot take an AP class. Some people said, well, you know, you're lowering the bar, you're lowering expectations and everything else. And I said, some students need to be pushed. Some students aren't pushed where they are. They don't see school as a challenge. They're bored. They stay home. Or they just don't do well. They don't push. So we took away all that kind of thing, those requirements. Then we started looking at how we recommend students for AP courses. We go by teacher recommendation, but then we open it up to say, we want students to be able to self-select. We want AP teachers to talk about their course. We want them to recruit themselves, and we want them, the students themselves, to say, I would like to take this class, although I'm not recommended for the class. And if you have that desire from a kid to take a class, that's all you need. For the most part, you need that kid to have the drive and the tenacity to see it through. And that's what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing more and more kids sign up for courses because they're self-selected, they're talking to their friends, they want to be in these courses, they want to, Jennifer Madrid, who spoke this morning, wants to be a microbiologist. And she knows in order to do that, she needs math and science courses. So now she could have been one of those students that would have been self-directed and would have probably opted for this anyway. But we have so many other students that could be just taking one math course, or I mean one AP course. And they're taking that AP course and they're finding that it's rigorous, they're finding that it's more work, they're finding that it's a challenge, and they're seeing, get a little taste of what college is like. And that is where I think the persistence piece pays off. That they now don't go to college and say, I had no idea it was going to be this rough. And now they're getting the taste of it in high school.
Charles, one more question. Not everybody at age 14 or even 15 is going to know that they want a career in the math, science related fields. So how do you get somebody else to really engage and hook in? Because they can't wait till they get that career aspiration all the time.
No, that's true, but we don't have any 9th and 10th graders enrolled in AP courses. I mean, it's a rare kid who's in 10th grade and says, I want AP computer science, for instance, which we just started offering this year. But it's a pre-AP program that we have, that any honors course is considered pre-AP. Some of the vertical teaming that's going on in the middle schools, starting them in Algebra 1 in 8th grade, which is a district initiative. So once we start that process, getting them into honors classes, they get a little taste of, and then it kind of catapults them into AP without saying, I need to take this, whatever career I want. It doesn't matter what career. Do you like math? Do you like English? Do you like this? You know, so they kind of sign up without the career in mind.
Jeff, briefly, what about the expansion of this program? Anything you can tell us about how many schools or anything like that?
Well, currently, as I said before, we're in 61 schools overall across the Commonwealth. 10 schools this year, and for the first time, thanks to Vertex, we will be in the South Boston complex with Excel and Green Academy. And also this year, we're taking up an initiative at the Burke as well. So those are the 3 new schools this year that we will be adding. So and hopefully funding, if it comes through, we'll be able to expand that to the other Boston high schools. And Carol Johnson, who was with us this morning, has been a great partner in the initiative. So we're hopeful that it does take part, because East Boston has been a great example of what can be achieved through this.
All right, thank you both very much. Jeff Mahoney and Charles Cauley.